where are your investments going vis-a-vis, when you compare India to some of the other emerging markets?
So I think one of the, first of all, we are a very global company. So we are the #1 most downloaded travel app in APAC outside of China, which means that we have a huge scale. So first of all, for us, the immediate thing is to use that scale to do two things. A, bring travelers into India. We know those travelers very, very well. We can localize, personalize our services. They've been using us for a long time. Now, how do we convince them to come and visit this remarkable country? That's one side. The other side is the outbound side that, it's no secret that Indians are traveling much more, leveraging those infrastructure investments and the growing middle class, traveling outbound. So again, we are there to serve them. And then over time, spend more and more to cater for the domestic travel that we've seen great, remarkable numbers with. So really across the board for us.
Right. So when you talk about, these kind of investments that are going into Agoda and, of course, building the overall architecture of the company, if I were to ask you what are some of the, most asked for destinations as far as India is concerned and, of course, some of the other markets, I believe you're present in 200 countries. Yes.
So destinations for India. So Indians go, as you can imagine, all over the place. India is such a big place. So many, there are the people that go west to the Europe or the US or Canada. Even some South America, even less. And obviously, Asia is a huge destination for Indians, specifically Southeast Asia, places like Thailand, Malaysia, increasingly Indonesia, which is very interesting for me, Vietnam, Singapore, all of those places that are growing very, very fast in India. And you know what's really interesting? People ask me what are the destinations that flourish or the origin that flourish the most. And the answer typically is where the friction is taken the most. So I can tell you in Agoda's numbers, the destinations and origins, interestingly, that grew on searches the most, 2024 to 2023 are Thailand and Malaysia in the top 5, 6, Thailand and Malaysia. And you know what's special about those markets? Those are the places where the Indian government removed the visa fee. Yes. And those places removed completely visa from restrictions from any Indian coming there. So it's not very surprising that something as small as that, it sounds small, generate such huge growth. So it just shows you that removing restrictions, opening the border, letting people come, just immediately stimulates travel.
Absolutely, and that's also part of, like you said, that's a priority of the Indian government to sort of improve its ties diplomatically with other countries, and of course to ease some of those visa restrictions. But Omri, when we talk about geopolitics and diplomacy, there are a lot of changes that are happening in the world today after the COVID-19 pandemic. I mean, what we are seeing right now is an administration change in the United States. And of course, everybody is anticipating and wondering what's going to be next so far as the Donald Trump administration is concerned with respect to its policies, whether it's related to inflation, whether it's related to Fed's trajectory. Then, of course, cost of living, like I said, is also another a big challenge. You also have two wars playing out. There is an attempt by, the parties involved to sort of bring a halt to those wars, but still, there are uncertainties. As a business that is into the business of travel, tourism, hospitality, how are you navigating those challenges?
So I think there is short-term and there is mid-long-term. I'd say as long as GDP is growing, travel will be fine. Travel is such a strong force. So I think travel tend to grow a little bit slightly faster than GDP. So there are, of course, turmoils, and we've gone through a pandemic that seized all travel for a few years. But I think the job of travel brands like us is to take a deep breath and to understand that, pendulum swing. But when you look at it from the medium, long-term position, then just keep holding your strategy. Hold your breath if you need. We needed to hold our breath for a long time during the pandemic. And keep doing what you're doing. Believe the travel will recover. And I am a strong believer that with the growth of the population, certainly in a place like, and the economical power, certainly in a place like India, but also globally, we'll be fine. The one thing that I say that we really need to react to when economical hurdles are happening is around price. So everybody that used Agoda knows that price is one of our massive, unique selling points. So we live and die by price. And what you see is that the customer sensitivity to price increases. It's kind of obvious. The harder the economical situation is. So what we need to do is to work harder to bring the best deals to customers, to encourage them to travel when it's a little bit harder to put your money out there. That's the main thing. But other than that, stick to our strategy and believe in the GDP growth that drives travel growth.
So what's going to be your strategy when you talk about strategy? Because there's competition hotting up in the segment as well. It's not just legacy players, but newer companies, newer models like Airbnb, which are doing rather well.
So first of all, travel is a huge space. There's room for everybody. By the way, a lot of those companies we are partnering with, because what we found, also domestic players, when we found that when we partner with others, then we learn. It expedites our learning. It expedites our ability to build a better product, and we also help them. Everybody brings something, so usually you get a bigger whole. I want to say for us, and we can talk about a lot of things, I would mention 3 things. First of all, the baseline is tech. I mean, you had the dear Kanban's person sitting here and talking about the same thing. Tech is probably the strongest firepower, the strongest power on the planet. And it's only increasing and increasing. If you want to be able to deal with everything that is coming, tech agility, tech efficiency, the best engineers, that's your baseline. If you don't have that, then there's a limit to how much you can tweak. That's one. That's where you start. Above that, I think 2 things are the main thing that made us who we are. One is this focus on price that we talked about. That's not going to change. Ultimately, if you drive the best price to the customer will come. That's our belief. And the second thing is what internally we call it DLP. It's deep local merchandising, DLM, deep local merchandising, localization. What do we mean by that? Is that what Agoda has done very, very well is being local global. It means that if you're an Indian customer, you need to feel when you're going to Thailand or Malaysia or Singapore or the UK, it needs to feel as if you're booking domestically into your own city. Whether it's your user experience, whether it's the payment options, whether it's the way things are organized, whether it's the customer support. I can tell you we talked about it in the past, that customer support in India is different in other places. You've got to do all of those locally to enable them to go globally. And that's a big, big, big effort, technical effort, service effort that will continue to drive our strategy.